Bold predictions are on chapter 24 tonight, and we got some good ones. In fact, every bold prediction on tonight's show is at least a 9 on the 1 to 10 scale. I don't think we've ever had that before. Let's get it cranked up. First up, from Nate in Austin, Texas. No team from Texas wins more than 9 games this year. No team. So we're talking Texas, over-under win total of 9.5. And then you got A&M and TCU and Texas Tech and Baylor. They're over-under win total 7.5. Houston's down at 4.5. Nate says none of them are winning double-digit games. Well, obviously your eyes go to Texas, and that will heavily depend on the outcome of that Alabama game early in the season. They play Food in week 1, notably, and don't lose to Food, number 1 rule on the show. And then in week 2, they play at Alabama, and then they got the Big 12 schedule, basically. They're not going to win 10 games? We'll see. I got predictions for you coming in a couple of weeks when it comes to Texas. But Texas A&M is the schedule I want to look at. Because this is, man, the SEC does not play. You can talk about these 8 or 9 game conference schedules all you want to. Let me just lay this out for you. Do you realize Texas A&M plays at Miami, Auburn, Arkansas and Dallas, Alabama, at Tennessee before they get to their bye week? And even if they're only a 1-loss team at that point, they've still got to play South Carolina, at Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and at LSU to end the year. They could be so improved this year and still be a 3-loss team playing that schedule. So, Nate, because of Texas, and because I think one of those teams in that little pod of 7.5 over-under, because I think someone is going to pop a double-digit win season on us, I'm making this a 9. But I could see this easily panning out and everyone out there failing to hit double-digit wins. Next up, just spoiler alert, this is not going to happen. But Coach Christopher Paul Sr. hit us up, and he is from Cordele, Georgia. I know Cordele for the best and worst of reasons personally. And he said Arkansas will win the SEC West and play for the SEC title. Coach, did you really bet money on this? Be real. Did you really bet money on this? This is a 9.75 on the boldness scale. Now, before Arkansas fans get bent out of shape, actually, I think you guys agree with me, but before you get bent out of shape, I have to tell you, I went on YouTube last night, and I was watching some of Trey Biddy's walk-in talks, which he does after every Arkansas game over at hogsports.com. He does a walk-in talk where he has his little selfie stick, and he has his phone. He just walks around Reynolds Razorback Stadium up there. It was so bleak back in 2019. And he's got the game where they lost to San Jose State. They lost to North Texas. They lost to Western Kentucky. And Biddy's walking out of the stadium, and he walks by a bunch of garbage bags. And he just says, a lot of garbage in the stadium today. He just kept on walking. I love him so much. We go to the same barber as well. So Trey Biddy has had happier times than that covering Arkansas as of late. This year, winning the SEC West, a little bit of a stretch. Big Ten West, though, producer Jesse, who returned from his mysterious vacation and brought me some Swiss chocolate, so I'm fine with it all of a sudden. He bought me off, basically. Jesse said, hey, what if they were in the Big Ten West? I think I'd pick them to win it. So it's all about geography, I guess. But, man, you got LSU, you got Alabama to overcome, you got Texas A&M to overcome. Oh, by the way, there's that 4-game stretch, to go back to the whole scheduling analysis that a lot of people love to do. This is insanity. If you're listening on podcast, imagine going to Baton Rouge to play LSU, then going to Dallas to play Texas A&M, then going to Oxford to play Ole Miss, then going to Tuscaloosa to play Alabama in 4 consecutive weeks. They are gone on the road for a month. That Texas A&M game's neutral site. It's not in Fayetteville. How does anyone allow this to happen? Again, I do this like song and dance every year with Arkansas schedule, and I'm doing it again this year. And, oh, by the way, then they got Mississippi State. Like, what should be the most winnable game in the division for you comes after 4 consecutive weeks on the road. And so you're just crawling over broken glass trying to get to the bye week, and then you got Mississippi State at your most vulnerable. So, yeah, they're not going to win the West. I'm sorry. Let's try and win 7 or 8 up there. They're not going to win the West. Next up, This was Bud, not to be confused with a William Elliott that we know. This is Bud. He is from Las Vegas, Nevada, and he says FSU is going to go into Death Valley and beat Clemson by double digits. Well then, my mind went back to 2013 because that is when I remember Florida State going to Clemson and spanking Clemson 51-14. FSU was only a 3-point favorite that day. Clemson is currently a 3-point favorite in this game this year. I don't expect 51-14 either way. I'm calling this a 9 on the boldness scale. Now, FSU goes up there and wins. That's wonderful. They go up there and win by double digits. Whew. Well, that's a statement made. This is a week 4 game, by the way. That's a statement made. Can they pull away, though? Obviously, if it's +4 turnovers, you can't see that coming. But if it's an even turnover game and they go up there and win by double digits, imagine what Jordan Travis has just done. Imagine what that defense has just done. Or is it what Clemson didn't do? I don't know how that would play out. But that's a 9 on the boldness scale, just on principle. I expect it to be a very close game. And lastly, fresh off a discussion with Mel Tucker last week, Israel hits us up from West Hazleton, Pennsylvania. He says Michigan State will win 2 of these 4 games. Washington, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. Naturally, we want to know what the spreads are on these games. Michigan State is an 11.5-point dog at home against Washington. They are a 19.5-point dog at home against Michigan. They are 24.5-point dogs on the road against Ohio State. We think they would be about a 15-point dog against Penn State, and that one's a neutral site. Do you realize this, by the way? Do you realize Michigan State plays Penn State on a Friday night in Detroit to end the season? To gross on all fronts. The only thing I like about it are the players and coaches on the teams, because the rest of that scene is gross. This is a 9.75 on the boldness scale for me. I don't know what they'll be at quarterback. I know the portal hit them and hit them late in the cycle. Now, I should remind you, we got a full interview with Mel Tucker on the YouTube channel. You can find it. It's not too far buried. And he said, I think I've got my most talented team I've had since I've been here. He knows his team much better than I do. If he's right, hit the over there. Over-under's 5.5. I don't think they're going to be able to split those 4 games, though. Now, they could lose all 4 of those and still hit their over, for all we know. But, man, they're double-digit dogs in every one of those games. You're going to win 2 of them outright? That's tough for me to see.